Good morning, everybody. This is Senior Moments on Santa Clarita's hometown station, AM 1220. I'm Joel Green along with Curtis Woods. We're talking today about volunteerism with Maria Strumsk, Volunteer Director of Community Services, Henry Mayo Newhall Hospital, and Hope Horner, Human Services Administrator of the City of Santa Clarita. We kind of left off, Hope, where we were talking about some of the individualized programs that volunteers can be involved in. And we kind of left off with the Cowboy Festival. Who volunteers for that?
Well, this past year, the event was in April. We had over 200 volunteers.
Wow.
And as I mentioned early, 30% of those were seniors. And some of them had been volunteering for many years. From the beginning, they've been helping out with this event. And we really couldn't do this event without the help of volunteers. Just in general, volunteers provide a huge value to the city. We estimate that it's over $1 million in value, their work hours. So at the Cowboy Festival alone, it's a 2-day event. And volunteers were helping out with everything from being ushers at the performances that we had at the theaters in downtown Newhall, as well as being out on site. As you know, this year's event was out at Hart Park as opposed to on Melody Ranch. So there were opportunities there to help with the activities, game activities for youth, as well as provide information to people attending the event at the information booth. So there was really a variety of ways to serve.
And if I were to volunteer at that, would I just be thrown in, or would you kind of guide me, direct me in what I'll be doing while I'm there?
We would definitely guide and direct you. We have what's called a Cowboy Roundup before the festival, and that's when all of the volunteers get together one evening and we go over the event and also the responsibilities of the volunteers, provide them with a T-shirt, and also, kind of give them an overview of what they'll be doing the day of. And then the day of the event, they show up, check in, we make sure they have what they need, and throughout the event, staff is checking in to make sure that, things are going well for them, and also to provide water and just to give them a pat on the back for being there.
Awesome. And I think that's really good to kind of paint a picture of a volunteer more than just a person saying, I'm a volunteer, and making it something as simple as filing or something like that. Getting out and about and doing something important is fun and it's engaging. So I think that's really good. And kind of switching gears a little bit, Maria, at the hospital, tell me more about volunteer opportunities and what we do at Henry Mayo.
Well, as you all know, hospitals are not the place that people go willingly. They usually come in because of a stressful situation, a healthcare issue, and therefore we try to engage our volunteers in primary being there for the patients. We have volunteers that work on the units along with the nursing staff to try to make rounds, to try to give water, give comfort, support, some sort of emotional support. We have volunteers that work in our radiology department that help with, transporting patients. We assist in the central supply area with medical supplies. We have volunteers that work in our gift shop just because they like to give back, and that portion of those proceeds go back to the hospital in a donation at the end of the year. We have volunteers in our waiting room so they can assist family members when they're under stress and they want information about their loved ones. We have them at the main information desk working with our visitors and are also with our employees there to guide people wayfinding throughout the hospital. We're trying to grow our music therapy program so that people will play for patients that are interested in coming in and, giving them some sort of soothing comfort. We're also trying to grow an art program so that they can maybe do some art projects with some of those patients that are able to do that, to actually get involved, because one of the things that we're trying to do is pain diversion to keep them, interested in something else besides just sitting there waiting for, for their food or sitting there thinking about their pain. We also have a very active pet therapy program where we have about 14 dogs that currently visit those patients that are certified, that go through the hospital and visit and provide comfort when someone's there, just to they miss their their animal and so forth.
So it sounds like volunteerism at Henry Mayo is not in a box. It's not confined. It sounds like they have a little bit more flexibility to do things that they may have a passion for, or something that might be interesting, or maybe even switch it up from week to week. If they're doing volunteering in one area, do they have an opportunity maybe to switch over to something else?
We don't necessarily change it up week to week, but we will give them opportunities. If some of the teens will come in and they're interested in one particular area like pharmacy, and then they want to try something on a unit, we'll go ahead and transfer them. Or we have a very active program in our emergency room where it assists the staff with changing over gurney beds, trying to get comfort to patients that are waiting. We have a teddy teddy bear program that we try to give the kids when they come into the emergency room during stressful times, a teddy bear so that it comforts them. So the volunteers try to do that, assist with that.
So if we're working with a senior in our throughout our alliance, and we're looking for an awesome volunteer placement, where do we typically see at Henry Mayo where seniors would like to volunteer? Do they have a certain segment or area that they typically like to gravitate towards?
Actually, we have seniors throughout the organization. It
Very
just depends on their interest and how, how ambulatory they are. Can they move around? Do they want to sit more as opposed to standing? Do they want to work with patients? Do they want that patient interaction? Because some of them, I have one lady that actually is one of our spokeswomen for the hospital who actually came back and is volunteering in the gift shop now because she felt we saved her life. So
Wow,
she
very
really
good.
wanted to give back, and that was a big step for her.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
And then let's say we talked a little bit earlier with Hope about time constraints. Do they have a specific schedule, or they can only do 2 hours or 8 hours? How much time can a person
We ask
volunteer?
for a minimum commitment of 6 months, 100 hours during that time, which is usually equates to about a 4-hour period once a week. However, like the pet therapy people only come in, maybe an hour and a half because the dogs can't take that much time, or the musicians will come in for an hour. So we're flexible. We'll work with people based on their needs, but we try to keep consistency in scheduling because the departments actually expect in there a certain time to help them. So that gives us a little bit more. And we run about 350 volunteers.
Wow.
So it's kind of hard to have them, change out week to week. So that's why we try to keep some consistency with who's going where.
Very good. So it sounds like with 300 volunteers, they must get along well. They have their own little group of friends and look forward to seeing each other also.
Yes.
Very good. Very good.
We're going to take a break, and we have a question for you out there listening. Have you recently volunteered? Are you wondering what the next chapter of your life has in store? Well, Curtis and I and Maria and Hope, we have a suggestion. Stay with us, and we'll tell you. You're listening to Senior Moments on Santa Clarita's hometown station, AM 1220, KHTS.
I'm Curtis Woods here with Joel Green on Santa Clarita's hometown station, AM 1220, KHTS. Have you recently retired, and are you wondering what is the next chapter of your life? We have a great suggestion. How about volunteering? What's the best way to give back to the community than volunteering some of your time? And we're speaking with Maria and Hope about volunteering in their organizations. And Maria, let me jump back to you and ask more about the enrollment process at Henry Mayo. If I wanted to become a volunteer, or we're working with a senior in our alliance that want to donate some of their time to the organization, what is that process?
Well, what I would advise you to do is, if they had computer access, they would go to our website, which is henrymayo.com, and they would look into volunteer services on the website, and it would explain the process. Or you could have them phone me directly, and I would be happy to talk to them. I try to speak to them about what their interests are, what might be their skill sets, and why they want to come into the hospital, so that I can kind of match them for the perfect area. And then they go through an interview process. We do a 3-hour orientation, and then we put them in an area where they can either buddy up with another volunteer or with the department person to get trained.
Okay, tell me more about the orientation. What takes place in the
The
orientation?
orientation predominantly deals with privacy for confidentiality of patient information. It deals with, we go through the codes, what the emergency system is like in the hospital, what do you do for safety, patient safety, how we talk about what they're allowed to do for infection control. They're not allowed to go into patient rooms or isolation, hand washing. All of that is discussed during the orientation, so that we make them safe, not only for themselves but also for the patients. And then from there, we have them sign confidentiality paperwork, also paperwork about harassment, that kind of thing. And then we try to get them, we give them a badge. And then from there, and they do wear a uniform in our hospital, so that identifies them from the irregular employees. And then they're set up as far as the training to wherever they're going to be sent.
Very good. So it sounds like the application process itself is pretty interpersonal. It sounds like you have a conversation to get them the right fit to their volunteering needs, and they're not just signed up and they don't just run free throughout the hospital.
No. Especially in a hospital
Right.
setting now.
So it's a good thing. So we feel comfortable allowing some of the seniors that we work with to come see you, kind of walk them through that process.
I mean, they could even, if they can't come into the hospital, we have volunteers that actually knit for baby bonnets for the newborn nursery. We have volunteers that'll do blankets. We have, so there are opportunities to do it from outside.
So
that
then-
they don't have to even actually step foot in the hospital if they want to give that way.
That's good to know. It sounds like volunteerism doesn't necessarily have to be at the facility. It can be from where they are. It can be
Right.
from home or in one of their assisted living situations. Sounds good.
And Hope, how about your process?
Well, our process starts at SantaClaritaVolunteers.com, which is the website which lists all of the opportunities. It's also the place to start for the registration, which is really an easy 3-step process. The first process is to go to SantaClaritaVolunteers.com and watch an orientation video, which is only 5 minutes long, and it just goes over the ins and outs of volunteering for the city. The second step is to create an account with the city, which is basically the same account you would use to sign up for classes. But in this case, you're creating an account. It's just basic information about who you are as a volunteer. And then the third step is to sign up for the opportunities that you're interested in volunteering. All the information is listed there on what's coming up, whether it's the events that are coming up or the ongoing opportunities we talked about at the community centers and in the neighborhoods.
The Santa Clarita Valley Senior Resource Alliance deals mostly with adult children and their loved ones. But obviously part of that in their loved ones category are other younger family members. So I posed the question to both Maria and Hope, are there multi-generational volunteers from the same family that are part of each of your organization's framework?
Well, currently we have a gentleman who does our hospitality shuttle whose actual granddaughter volunteers in on one of the units for us because she's interested in healthcare. And he started with the hospital, and then they came in. Her brother had been there before, but he just graduated from high school. So now she's in there volunteering on a unit. And so we do have that opportunity. We have several husbands and wives that are retirees that come in together and they volunteer together. So there is a lot of that. There's a lot of bonding.
You're smiling, Hope.
I am, because we see families out volunteering together all the time, especially at the special events. And we actually have a few coming up where it's really a great opportunity for families, all multi-generations, to get out
Like what?
and make a difference. Well, the first one that's coming up is on August 22nd, and it's our Youth Sports and Healthy Families Festival. It's an all-day event at the Activity Center. So whatever your interest may be, whether it's healthy living, eating, healthy eating, to a basketball, soccer ball, it sounds a little intimidating if you're not into sports, but really it's about helping kids get out and have a good time that day and learn about healthy living and staying active. And we see families volunteering for that each year, as well as one of our most popular events, which is coming up in September. September 19th is the River Rally. And that's where we go to a specific part of the Santa Clarita River and clean trash and debris out of the river. That's another great opportunity as a family, to go out, and it can be a long walk or a short walk, however you want to make it, and it's really just about cleaning up that area.
And on that same note, are there opportunities for our member organizations that are part of the Senior Resource Alliance to be involved with those also?
We would love that. That would be a great opportunity.
Sounds good.
A quick question. Are there, in all the opportunities locally to volunteer, it's the end of the school year now. I would think that you would see rather a large increase of volunteerism on the part of students.
We do. We have several surges throughout the year. They need their credits for school, and they need to get their extra, the units that they need for, as part of their community service. So we do see those end of the year surges as well, from the procrastinators. Some of them space it out throughout the year, but also during the summer, we do see a lot of students.
Is expanding, we're the Senior Resource Alliance, and again, our emphasis are on adult children and seniors, but expanding our vision and our plan for the Resource Alliance, I would think that with kids, it's a great opportunity for children to not only get their credits, but also to become a bit more aware of public service and how that really does influence you presently in life, but especially later in life. Do you see that, Maria?
Yes, I think that the teens that we get in the hospital actually they do return sometimes. Sometimes they graduate, they get their degrees, they get hired back on. But what I do find is once they start into the younger years, their families accentuate volunteerism, they continue it throughout their lives. And that's something that they really get a taste for and a passion for. So it does continue.
You know, and that's the way it should be. Well, when we come back, we're going to discuss, are there any benefits to volunteering? Really, let's face it, with volunteering, what's in it for me?
Right.
Because after all, it's all about, you know. We'll tell you when we come back from the break on your hometown station, AM 1220, KHTS, volunteering.